Guys, am I the only one who's like super OCD and has like health anxiety about having diseases and having cancer in the future? Because to me, the idea, right? Cancer, luckily, it doesn't run through my family history. And I also live a lifestyle that's kind of preventative of getting most of cancers. But that's the thing, right? You can still have cancer if you do everything right, because it's literally just a roll of the dice, just a random occurrence. It's just your cells multiplying again in a mutated way, right? To me, the idea of and I'm not saying people who smoke and drink alcohol and party deserve to have cancer and lead a bad lifestyle and are obese. I'm not saying those people deserve cancer, right? I'm just saying if they do get cancer, you can kind of justify it. Okay, at least they got cancer because they chain smoked for 40 years, right? But the idea that you can live the most ideal lifestyle, do everything right, and your genes can mutate in a way that's that causes cancer, it's to me just seems so fucked up. Now luckily 2/3 of people will never have cancer. It's only 1/3 of people who will experience cancer, and that accounts for people who live bad lifestyles as well. So if you live a healthy lifestyle, really it's only like a 10 to 50% chance, right? And if you account genetic cancers, which is like a small percentage but still count, really it's like 10% if you live a healthy lifestyle, right? But to me those odds are still not good. Like if you take 10 people who live really ideal and healthy lifestyles, 1 out of 10 is still going to have cancer. Like what? Now obviously having cancer is not the same as dying from cancer, as it can be treated and cured. So really the odds of dying from cancer if you live a really healthy lifestyle is like 5%, around that. Also guys, my skin is looking really good. Guys, my skincare routine is working. Also, I'm turning 23. Never had a cavity so far in my life, and I'm really proud of my oral routine that makes this possible, you know. I'm planning on living to 100 plus and keeping my teeth and everything, but you know, this is what I have to accept about life, that there are some things that you cannot control, and having these diseases is one of them, even if you do your best. Because you always know these anecdotes like, okay, this guy was a fucking elite athlete who did everything right and still had cancer. And of course there's the opposite side of that. Oh, my grandma chain smoked till she was like 120 years old and she lived healthily. So I think it really just is about doing everything you can and just not worrying about the rest. But it's hard to do. It is hard to do. Guys, I was actually wondering, is it actually better to look like you can fight than actually knowing to fight? Of course, ideally you should both look like you can fight and be able to fight, but if you had to pick one, would it possibly be more important to just look like you can fight? Because that way I feel like you would avoid more fights. Because if you look like you can fight, you will rarely get into fights, right? Let's say you get into 1 fight per month, right? Then you just have to deal with that 1 fight. However you manage it, whatever. But if you don't like look like you can fight, but you can't fight like someone like Sean O'Malley, you would get into fights constantly, you know. You would get into maybe like 10 fights per month. So, and of course as a intermediate fighter, you have to realize that street fights are such liabilities because you know, there's no rules and stuff. It really takes one lucky punch, even from a worse opponent,
to potentially take you down and even kill you. So, and if you constantly get into fights, there's a good chance that you will lose one of them, you know. So it might actually be better for the average dude to just bulk up, go to the gym and look intimidating than actually learning martial art. And that just hit me like, yeah, you know, like I train boxing and stuff and I know how to fight, but if I'm gonna constantly get into fights, I'll surely like lose one of them. And the thing is, if you get, it's a numbers game, right? If you get into a certain amount of fights, you'll lose eventually, right? And yeah, it just made me think like, for the average dude who's not competing and stuff, it might actually be better to just train and look like you fight, you know? Ideally a little bit both, right? Like, you should look strong and also be strong and be agile and be capable, but it just really made me think, you know. It is the summer again, and everyone's trying to tan. Can we please, for the love of God, stop normalizing getting skin cancer? Please, please, for the love of God. It's, for some reason, it's so hard for people to understand that the natural skin color, you know, pale in my opinion, is how they are supposed to look, you know. Being pale, being fair-skinned, and not being tanned or sun-kissed is not unhealthy, it's actually good for you. This is your natural skin tone. Wake the fuck up. Stop trying to change your skin color and potentially give yourself skin cancer just because what other people think of you, bro. Seriously. I see way too many people baking themselves in the sun, or even worse, going to sunbeds. Even worse, man. Just because what they saw on TV, on Love Island or some shit, how people look there. It's so crazy in my opinion. Like, how hard it is for people to understand that the sun is responsible for 80% of skin aging. It's beyond crazy to me. And I'm not saying a little bit of sun here and there is super bad for you. But if you live a long time, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, you don't use sunscreen because you just go out here and there, would your skin have looked better had you used sunscreen every day? Yes. But then again, it's just make your choice and be responsible for it. Like be aware about the consequences, you know. That's just what I think, you know. I'm gonna keep wearing sunscreen every day, regardless of what time of the year it is, multiple times a day. So that's that. I do not care if tanning is trendy. I do not care at all, you know. Guys, look at all this fucking furniture from IKEA. Bro, I feel like an adult playing Lego again. I swear to God. Here's how the kitchen is looking. Pretty nice.